Hey, greetings. As I said before, this series is going to be about unlearning New Age. And by New Age, I don't just mean, the crystals and all of those kinds of things that came with it, which, because a lot of that stuff is really old. It's old and ancient. But let's be clear here, okay? Just because something is old and ancient doesn't mean it's good. It doesn't mean that it's something that you need to follow, and I think many of us from that generation X and the generation prior, our parents age group, got into this whole idea of thinking, as we start bringing these old ideas back, that somehow they are superior to the things that our parents and our grandparents have taught us, those who followed the Bible and those who were Christians, right? I want to target on something about with Generation X, because I'm one of those of that generation who they call Generation X, those of us who are in that age range, who were born between 1965 and 1980. We'd range in age from about 46 to 61, right? I find it curious that we would call Generation X. We used to talk about that Generation X like, you use X to mark the spot. You use X as your target market. You use X as your group that you're looking at in science. That's your I forgot what it's called, but you use that particular group and you start watching them. And I do believe that there was a lot that happened with our age group to deter us from the way our parents used to be, and to have a life that but goes against God. A few things about that. Many of us, those of us who grew up in that generation, I remember that, and I'm looking over here at some of my notes. I want to remember, we stopped saying good morning. One of our teachers, a lot of us started following under what was called the Nubian Islamic Hebrews. That was one of the many names, because every few years this teacher changed his name. Some say because he was running from the feds, or, he said for whatever reasons he was doing it. But every few years he changed the name, and the teacher was Dr.York, right? And so anyway, we stopped saying good morning. He said that this was a bad thing, making it sound that meaning our God is Shakar. That's what he was saying, like some demon, like you're somehow giving a rise to demonic entity by saying good morning, right? And so for a whole group and a whole generation, even unto now, you hear people, they don't say good morning. Those who are from that age group, they won't say good morning in their circles. They say grand rising, saying Greece, greetings, peace and blessings, which there's nothing wrong with saying peace and blessings. I mean, it's good to say peace and blessings. In many cultures, that is the greeting, to say peace and blessings, or greetings to you, shalom. That's what you're saying. You're saying peace. And that's beautiful to say that to somebody. But to dismiss good morning, when God created the earth, he said that is good. It is good. God created the morning and morning in the evening, right? This is what God created. So there's nothing wrong with saying good morning. But that's one of those concepts that came out of the York camp. That's what I'm going to call it as I'm doing this series, that came out of the York camp. Another one of those ideas that came out of the York camp was this like shacking up thing. That whole stuff that was pushed out in the 90s, where everybody's, that's my wifey. And like the early 2000s, that's my wifey. Everybody, this kind of disrespect of marriage, but a counterfeit marriage, as though marriage is something that you can just enter into just by calling somebody your wifey or whatever. That's where that came from. The people who are part of those organizations, they were encouraged, and it were young people. He targeted young people, college age, men and women, black folks, excuse me. And they hooked up with each other, right? That's my mate, using this term mate. And so you have the men and the women, they got together and they were conducting themselves as though they were married. have children together, living together, and all of that without the true covenant of marriage. Now, the perspective was that if you have sex with the person, that is a type of marriage. And true enough, you do become bonded to someone when you have sex with them. But make no mistake, this is not the covenant that has been ordained by God. When you just find somebody, you hook up with them and you call them, this is my wifey, or what have you. It's really a disrespect of the institution of marriage. And that's another one of those things that came out of the York camp. And one of the final things that I want to mention here in this video is just the blatant disrespect. The blatant disrespect of the Heavenly Father with titles like, is your God a wimp? Yeah, y'all remember that one? Is your God a wimp? Talking about, oh, why would God send his son to go down there to earth and deal with all of this, the madness, and put his son on the cross? Like that comes from like the Islamic misunderstanding and disrespect of what Christ actually did. Christ was on the cross. He shed his blood. He is the only one. Look at all of these other religions, all of these myths and mythologies, which those are real things. We'll talk about that later. These myths and metaphors that existed over time. Look at how those gods related. None of them experienced humanity. They all were from afar. And many of them were very much like demons to human beings. All of them, I would even say, were demons. They acted demonically. That's really what I meant. Most of them acted demonically towards human beings. And this is the only Christ and Yahuwah from the Bible, which some people call Yahweh, was the only God that was loving towards humanity, that was caring towards humanity, and gave life for humanity. The true creator, the Most High God. I'll talk more about that at another time, but these are just some tidbits that I'm going to put out here now as we win souls